I hope by the end of this talk that I'm going to inspire you all to want to know more about your own unconscious. Shadow work is about looking into our unconscious. Has everybody heard of Carl Jung? He was the famous Swiss psychiatrist who came up with the term shadow, and the shadow is everything about us that is unconscious, repressed, denied, and suppressed. And these are dark as well as light, so there's actually positive potential in our shadow that we don't know about. And the way that we know that there are things in us that we don't know about is that things start to repeat. And we wonder, why is this happening to me again? And who is this person, right? So the biggest and first hurdle of all is to recognize that there are people inside us that we don't know, that have their own autonomous life. You know, they're actually in us doing things that we don't agree with, and we'll wonder, why is this happening? Carl Jung determined that there were two centers to the psyche: our ego consciousness, what we know, and our unconscious, which is our personal unconscious. He also came up with the terms collective unconscious, which encompasses everyone. But this talk is about our personal unconscious and what is inside of us that we have no clue about. And there's a compensatory nature to the psyche. It compensates for us when we're out of balance. And immediately, I'm going to read a quote by Carl Jung. The psyche is a self-regulating system that maintains its equilibrium just as the body does. Every process that goes too far immediately and inevitably calls for compensation. And without these, there would be neither a normal metabolism or a normal psyche. So our birth chart is a symbolic representation of our psyche. And these four angles, the first is our self, what we identify with, our persona or our mask, but Carl Jung called our persona. And in astrology, we call that the rising sign, because it's 6 a.m. the day that we were born, and the exact opposite is our marriage house. So it looks like it's you that I'm falling in love with. But we're actually falling in love with an aspect of our own unconscious when we first meet a person. And we don't really even get to know anybody until we marry them. And then after we marry them, we start to see all these other parts, and we're like puzzled. Like, who are you after all? You're not the person I married. Well, no, we married ourselves. That's what happened. We projected parts of ourselves onto that person. And those things are what draw you like a bug to a light. It's like you get what they call a spark or chemistry. There's an intensity to it, and there's a fascination. So whenever there's a fascination, it's not just an attraction. I mean, we're all attracted to people all the time. But when we're fascinated by somebody, that's a clue that it's actually in our unconscious. And I'm going to read another quote by Carl Jung, because it's so cool. A fascination of this kind is never exercised by one person upon another. It is always a phenomena of relationships, which requires two people, insofar as the person fascinated necessarily has a corresponding disposition. But the disposition must be unconscious, or no fascination will take place. The fascination is a compulsive phenomena in the sense that it lacks a conscious motive. It is not a process of will, but something that rises up from the unconscious and forcibly obtrudes itself upon the conscious mind. So it's like when we are attracted to somebody and we're in love, it's compulsive. We become compulsive about it, or when we're fascinated, we want to get to know that person really badly. And our persona, what we identify with ourselves, is our highly idealized image of who we think we are. But we are all so much more than what we know. There is so much in our unconscious, and it is a lifelong retrieval process to get to know ourselves. And people say, I know myself. I know everything about me. No, you don't. Sorry. And in our earliest ego development, we separate from the things that were not approved or accepted. Like, I am this, I am not that. So we made all these choices when we were growing up because we all want approval. We want acceptance and approval. That thing is bugging me. Can I just turn it off? I can talk pretty loud. Can everybody hear me?
I like it better.
Yeah, because that is just, it's reverberating over here. So that is how our shadow is formed, by putting different parts of us in the unconscious. Like, I don't want to be like that. My father didn't like that about me. So I put that into the bag in my unconscious, and I leave it there until later in life when it comes up, because it's in us. If it wasn't in us, then these people wouldn't be coming into our energy field. We are all energy. And in order to see what's hidden in our unconscious, we will project it. Most people have heard the term projection, right? We know we project things about ourselves out onto others, but what we don't know is that we're not the one doing it. It's the unconscious that has projected itself out because it wants to be known. We want to know ourselves. So the universe will help us by bringing these patterns to us. And our shadow is like a blind spot. It's not our negative characteristics and flaws. We all know our faults and flaws. Our children know them really well. But there's a saying that my friends know the best of me, my children know the rest of me. So it's not about our negative characteristics at all. And there are many ways to see your shadow. Think about people that you avoid, people that you meet that you don't like, that you avoid them, that you walk around the room to get away from them because you just don't like that person, and you really don't know why you don't like them because often you don't even know them. But we all do that. And another way of seeing a shadow is when we go on and on and on. Something has pushed our buttons, and we have to go tell this person, and then we have to go tell that person, and we're going on and on and on about a person that is pushing our buttons because that is a part of us as well. And so the unconscious brings that up for us. I went to Carmel to visit a friend, and we were sitting there at the table, and this girl comes up. She didn't even say hello. She sits at the table, and she's going on and on and on about some girl. Oh, she's despicable. She was slimy. She is using this guy. And I was like looking at her, and I'm looking at my friend, and she wasn't even aware we were sitting there. She was in a huge charge. So catch yourself when you go into a huge charge and ask yourself, what is this really about? What does the unconscious want from me? There is a teleology in life. Teleology just means it's leading somewhere. It wants something from us. And so I couldn't exactly tell her, sweetheart, that's your shadow. You can't tell other people about their shadow. They have to figure it out for themselves. They have to learn about it themselves. And it takes time to do that. Because, think about it. You're looking at things in other people that you won't tolerate, that you don't want to have anything to do with, that you wouldn't want to be like, right? And so people will say to me, you mean you're asking me to look at that those qualities are actually in me? Yes, they are. But they're unconscious. And they're going to have a more distorted, primitive fashion if we don't know about them. I'll give you another example. This girl came to one of my workshops, because I taught workshops in Houston at Centerpoint for about 15 years in my 30s. And she comes to my webinar or my workshop, and she says, I keep attracting men one after another who they move in with me, they have plenty of money. As soon as they move in with me, now they don't have any money and they're borrowing money from me. And she said, I have another guy that's in my life again, and the same thing is happening. I'm not holding up a sign saying, will you please come home from me? I'm looking for overtakers. Come home with me. And I said, how often have you done this? She said 3. I said, is no longer chance. It is no longer chance when 2 or 3 times you're getting the same pattern. I said, close your purse. It sounds so simple, but it's unconscious. The unconscious in her is overgiving. So she automatically has to bring the opposite so she can go into a balance with herself, right? And she got it, you know, afterwards, that she needed to stop doing that. But it's not that you're not going to give to people anymore. It's not going to be like you're not going to be a giver anymore. Some of us are very Leo, and we're very giving and very generous. But whenever she sees that kind of relationship in her personal life, like a husband, a boyfriend, whatever, she has to say no and have boundaries. We have to become our own mother and father. We need to learn how to set no and set limits and be willing to set boundaries with people that are obviously needing to learn the opposite, right? They're needing to save their money. And our shadow, again, it's like our physical shadow. It's behind us. We don't know about it. It's somebody else. We don't do that. But when we say, I would never do that, when you say it like that, it is you. You just don't know it. So this is not easy. Shadow work is not easy, but it is so worth it. Because as you're bringing back all these different parts of you through other people, through the mirrors of other people, then you get to be a whole person instead of a fragmented person. And most importantly, you become very conscious. Now, two people, if they both know their astrology, again, this is the marriage house. The 7th house is who we can expect and who we're going to be when we're in a relationship. So whatever planets are there, and planets are what Carl Jung called archetypes. An archetype is simply that it is typical in consciousness for everyone. We all have a sun sign, and that's our center, that's our vitality. The moon is our emotions. Mercury is how we think and process information. Mars is how we go after what we want. And we all have a Mars and a Venus, whether we're male or female. So John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Well, yeah, but we all have a Mars. If we're a woman, we still have a Mars. And so Mars is that part of us that takes action. But the Venus part of us wants to relate, wants to connect, wants a partner in life. And all of us have Venus in a sign. And that sign will tell me a little bit about what you find beautiful, what you find attractive. And then it's also going to fall in a different house. And that house could be how you might meet your partner. If it's in the 10th house, you might fall in love with your boss. If it's in the 6th house, you might meet a coworker and fall in love with a coworker. So you can actually even see where you could possibly even meet a partner by looking at your Venus. And then the aspects that Venus makes, because this is 360 degrees. So there are other planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which are the transpersonal and outer planets, and Jupiter and Saturn, which is the social collective planets. When those are in aspect to our Venus, we are being asked to do something completely different than the Barbie and Ken, 2-car garage PTA meetings. And those of us who've had long-term, succession of relationships probably have some of the outer planets involved with our Venus. And those are transpersonal energies, collective energies, which means that they're non-egoic. They are not personal. And that is really, really hard to understand if you don't know what's happening. I'm 71 this month. And I guarantee you, these things repeated, and I had all 3 of the outer planets involved with my Venus, and I didn't understand. It was so painful until I understood it. And the sign on the 7th house cusp, you will marry that sign. They will have the moon there. My ex-husband had the moon. I had Aquarius there. He had the moon in Aquarius. I leave him. 6 years later, I get a business partner, because the 7th house is also business partners. And she was an Aquarius. And I was the common denominator. And every boyfriend I've ever had is very Aquarian or Uranian, which means that they don't want to be tied down. It's part of our nature to be ambivalent about total commitment. We need our freedom and space and connection. And that works really well. But if you don't know it, you repeatedly bring people to you that won't commit. And they won't commit, and you're like, why do I keep attracting the same energy? Because it's in you, or you wouldn't. So this is the remarkable thing about this. Usually first marriages too, we marry our parents. And there are aspects of our parents that we don't want to be anything like. You know, this is our father and our mother, our self and our other. And we have to integrate all four of these angles to be a whole person. Most first marriages, we do marry our parents, and we're trying to get our parents' approval. We want them to accept us. Well, it's not going to happen. We have to accept ourselves. We have to become our own mother and father. And that, hopefully, the next marriage, you meet somebody who has something in common with you, something where there's a bridge to each other, where you can actually talk to each other. This is a house of communication. It's an air house. That means you have to be vulnerable. You have to talk to each other. You have to tell each other the truth. And we're in the Aquarian age now. Aquarius is about freedom and truth. And it's also about objectivity. It's about standing back and waiting and seeing who that person is. Because initially, when we're fascinated, it's an idealization. And anybody who's been married and divorced or in and out of relationships, you know, eventually that idealization goes away because you get to see the whole person. And hopefully you'll grow together and grow to love each other with your faults and flaws and shadows, because everybody has them. And everywhere you go, you meet yourself. So the cool thing about this is that if you know your seventh house, if you know your Venus, if you know the aspect it's making, then you can talk to that person and the two of you can share that in an equal and balanced way instead of being two huge extremes. After 25 years of studying astrology and doing relationship counseling and couples, it's so amazing to me when two people bring me their charts because they have the same energy, but they've split it up. I'll be this side of you if you'll be this side of me. Because I didn't like that. I don't like that about me, but I don't even really want to do that, so I'll get you to do it. So we do three things with our projections. One, we'll see you as doing that. We don't do that. You do it. Two, we want you to carry that energy for us. We want you to be the scapegoat and carry that energy that we don't want to identify with. And then three, we're acting our shadow out all over the place, and everybody knows it, but we don't. So I guarantee you, whoever you're attracted to, whoever you're attached to, that is a person that the unconscious has chosen specifically for you. Carl Jung called that the self, and we can't even get to the self till we go through the shadow. We have to see what's in the unconscious in order to get to our higher self. What he called our higher self, our inner divinity, our inner beloved. We are all on a quest to have a sacred marriage, believe it or not. The sacred marriage is when our masculine and our feminine come together in union, and then we share that with another person. Instead of you be the man, I'll be the woman. No, we have to both be our masculine and our feminine. And the masculine is the part of us that goes and gets things done, takes action, is direct. The feminine is receiving and receptive. And whether a man will have a Venus, and that will show me what he's very attracted to in a woman. Because Venus is the part of us that wants safety and security and pleasure and comfort. It wants touch. And the sign Libra also is ruled by Venus, and that part of us wants beauty and harmony and balance. So that is inherent in everyone. We all have all 12 archetypes, but every one of us is like a snowflake. We all have a different combination, but we all have it all. And when I first started studying astrology, I thought, my God, this is so accurate. The planets are doing this to us. Well, they're not. The planets are inside us. That means all of us are connected, and every one of us is part of the cosmos. And we're actually evolving, even though it doesn't look like it. The fact that there's so much polarization in the world, Carl Jung said if we didn't do our shadow work, we were going to blow the planet up eventually. So the more people who will do their shadow work with their partner, hopefully, or with their family, with their friends, with their siblings, whoever you can't stand. I mean, raise your hand. Have you ever met anybody you can't stand? And have you ever fallen madly in love? Say hello to your shadow. That's your shadow. The shadow inside of you. And in order to get to the masculine and the feminine together, which is what the seventh house is about, we have to go through the shadow first. And we will keep repeating situations until we recognize that it's true what the alchemist said. As above, so below. As within, so without. It's like an infinity symbol. As inner and outer states of consciousness are reflecting each other. And the Venus planet symbol, it's like a mirror, right? We're like holding it, we're like looking at a mirror. So we can't do this alone. We can't. We need other people to do it with. And again, you don't have to be married to do this. You can do it with yourself. And then with whoever comes into your energy, you have a new tool for self-awareness. Self-awareness is where we're all headed in the Aquarian age. Self-love. Self-love and freedom. Freedom to be who we really came here to be. Not just the good side. I love what Carl Jung said. He said, I would rather be real than good. So we want to be authentic, because often we will marry somebody that we have over idealized, and then we want to keep that harmony. We want to keep that magic alive. So we start lying to each other. We start not telling each other the truth. And when people are not telling each other the real truth, you know, the naked truth, they get further and further and further apart. And then the next thing you know, they're leaving. You're leaving. Yeah, I'm tired of this. But you never told them all the different things that really bothered you, or at least not as many as you should have. So eventually, we have to do this. So what I'd like to say is, to thine and self be true. And then thank you. Thank you for showing me the part of me that I badly needed, that I was missing. That's who all those past or even present relationships are really for. Thank you for coming to hear me speak. I'm in the middle of the room. I'm in the middle of the front door. And I wrote a book about all this. Because when I found out about it, I was like, everybody should know about this. This is amazing. And I have a webinar that I created because when I started doing counseling sessions, I realized there's only so much I can say in an hour. And so I created an online webinar that is comprehensive. It's like having 6 consultations with me. So that's another thing. And Martha was going to pass that handout out to everybody as you're walking out the door. Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Thank you for coming.